Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome to this lesson. In this video I'm going to detail some points to you about how getting better at guitar actually works, and then some extra sort of points on learning it, which will absolutely sort of transform your sort of perception on how you can actually practice and get better at guitar. Now most of us are practicing to try and achieve something, because it's like we're always trying to progress. You know, even if you just play the same things, you still get better at any sort of, I mean, let's say you learn to play chord progressions and that's all you do. Unless you've actually mastered that so you can't get any better, you're still going to be getting better at it even if you're not trying. But my point is, most of us are trying to get better at guitar, and it's an age-old question of like, you know, am I doing this correctly? Am I doing this as fast as I should be? Am I even getting better whatsoever? Because that's why I want to make this video, because a lot of people, and for a long time for me, like we couldn't tell how well we were progressing, and we had sort of no visibility over what was going on whatsoever. But after playing for 11 years and playing, like sort of practicing solidly, especially for the last 4 where I've been doing like work for like really sort of quite extensive uni degrees, where I fundamentally had to achieve the level that I needed to record the music that I was recording within a certain amount of time, no matter what. I had to really pay attention and make sure this stuff happened, and going through that rigorous process I've learned. So it's sort of going through that, and then just from the time itself, from all the 11 years of doing it, I now know from seeing it day after day after day, the same thing, what is actually going on as I get better at guitar and what actually happens. So I'll actually tell you about this and everything else that I think is crucial for everybody to know. Right, so how to progress. So this is how it actually happens, right? So say you have done your guitar practice for today, you've done like half an hour, whatever, and both your hands feel quite tired. So in the left hand, you find that, I mean, the skin on your left hands from fretting might feel a bit rough, but that just happens from playing. That's irrelevant. That has nothing to do with what I'm going to say. But what happens is your fingers will feel a bit tired, and then maybe in sort of like the palm of your hand, whatever. And then on the left side, from maybe clenching the pick, from trying to get out more speed than what you actually have, because you're just trying to get to where you're going as fast as possible. So you're always trying to see a faster speed than what you did before, or like better strumming than what you had before. So you're always trying to go for it, and I find it's as if I'm like trying to squeeze my fingers into each other. So my hands tend to get quite tight, and then sort of on the back of my hand, and just a tiny bit in the palm, it gets really tired. And then at this point, this is where you will notice that you're not going to get any better at that day, because all you've done is absolutely push yourself to get more progression out, acquire more ability, and through doing that you've kind of tired out your hands. Even if you just say you're working on alternate picking, right, and you just did it at the level that you're at without trying to use any more actual strength to try and force some more temporary speed out, your hand will soak up the practice that you're doing, even if you're not using any strength. And through doing that, it takes energy out of your hand, and it tires out the muscle, right? So no matter what, your hands are going to get tired, and after trying to force out this new speed, or just generally trying to get better, just keep going up this sort of slope to get better, you get to this point where you can kind of tell that you're not going to see anything better than what you've already seen today, because your hands, these tools that you have, aren't fit enough to do anything better than what you've already managed to kind of peak at in that day. right? Because your hands are tired and you want to see yourself get better than where you were 10 seconds ago. So that's impossible to happen, right? So you're kind of like, okay, I'm done. And you put the guitar down, and then you wake up the next day and your hands, right, that's the thing, you might not know this or be able to tell, but this is what I've found out from doing this day after day after day for weeks, months and years, right? I've seen it enough times that it's the same thing every time. So you wake up the next day and your hands are healed. You might not really notice, right, but this is what's happening. And then you pick up the guitar again, and then you'll stick on maybe a song to start jamming onto one song that you like to play or whatever. And don't forget, no matter what, if you're not warmed up, well, when you play, you physically have to warm up, because it's the point of going from not playing to getting back into it. So what happens is, within the first minute, you can kind of tell that, oh yeah, I'm pretty stubby right now, like you've got some sort of choppy alternate picking, whatever, it's a bit kind of, you're not feeling one with the guitar for about maybe like 40 seconds. And then after that, you've kind of broken through that sort of thin sort of barrier, you've shattered it. And then you sort of feel like oh yeah, I'm a guitar player again. But for the next 2 minutes, maybe up to 5 minutes, you're still sort of getting back to where so you're still warming up, even though you feel like, yeah, I can feel like I can actually play now. My hands aren't actually asleep. But whether you're thinking about it or not, your hands are still inadvertently warming up, right? And even if you're not paying attention, you'll be getting sort of stronger and stronger back into the sort of fire of what you can do, right? And within the sort of 2 to 5 minutes, and pretty much approaching when you get to this 5-minute mark, you've then gotten warmed up, and you're able to see where you left off from the day before. So when you started the day before, you were sort of here, and then at the end of the day, well, at the end of that session yesterday, you will have acquired some skill, and you will have been from like there to here. You've now gotten better than where you were before. Now, going back to this current day where you've done your warm up for about 5 minutes, right? You're now at the point where you'll see the level that where you left off at this sort of new level that you gained yesterday, and you're like, oh yeah, this is where I was, and I can see I'm better than yesterday morning than when I started yesterday. You know, because you're starting your practice now on the current day, and you started your current, like the start of the practice at that point the day before, and you can tell that from the day when you started yesterday and to where you're starting now, you're better than when you started yesterday, is what I'm saying, right? But you've only just picked up the guitar, and your hands are still fresh, and you've noticed that you've sort of leveled up from the day before. Okay, but you're still to get better than where you are at this point. So you start carrying on playing up to half an hour, for an hour, whatever, and what will happen is you'll notice that you're going up the slope from where you are now, so you're progressing even more, right? So it keeps on going, and it's sort of in the actual moment, what you can do varies depending on how much strength you're using to compensate. Or even when I do that, I am full on tensing my hand to actually try and get something, right? So what happens is, as you're playing for that half an hour, if you use a lot of strength, your hand's going to get quite tired, but it's only temporal. You just have to rest for a bit, and then you come back at it, and you're still progressing. But what I'm saying is, you might find a bit of a dip, or you won't be able to do anything at all because your hand is dead for a minute. You have to put the pick down, and I just let my hand rest because I'm playing guitar and I can't do anything. I want to play and I can't play because my hand's dead, so you just have to wait 30 seconds and I just pick it up and do it again. But what I'm saying is, throughout this whole time, what's actually happening is you're still actually getting better and better, just like it was yesterday. As you're practicing, you're sort of getting better to this point where then when you get to today, you're better than when you started yesterday morning, right? So this current day, you're practicing after you warm up, and you've noticed you've gained this new ability from yesterday, and you're carrying on practicing and you're getting better and better again. When your hand is dead again, and you just before that, you've probably like maybe 10 minutes before, you've seen your new peak that you've seen. You're like, oh yeah, because you've seen at the start of this session, you were better than yesterday, and then from practicing, you're going up and up and up to get even further. Like I say, you were like there yesterday before you started. You practiced to get to here, and then today you've practiced to now get over here, right? But now your hand's dead again. So what do you have to do? You have to put the guitar down, go to sleep, wake up the next day, and then the same thing happens again. You warm up as you're playing along to the song, and after 5 minutes you can see that, oh yeah, I've progressed again. Carry on playing our session. You keep going up the slope and you gain that new like experience that you get, and then you level up by the time you've killed your hand within the hour. Like by the time the hour's done, you're dead and you can't play. But through that time, that's where you're getting this experience, and that's where you level up. And then the next day, once you've gone through your warm-up, you're like, oh yeah, I'm back at this new level that I've now attained. And as you practice, you go up and up and up, boom, leveled up again. Next day, up and up, leveled up again. But the thing is, that's what I mean, you can only sort of gather a certain amount of experience. It's like one level per day, which sucks, because it's like, I've got nothing else better to do. It's like I just want to get better at guitar, but no matter what you do, if your tools are dead, they can't do anything. And you know when that's happened, because you can sort of feel that, like, you when you're trying to do something that's like difficult, like when I'm practicing that to try and get that like perfect and just like absolutely like literally right in the strings, proper nimble and stuff, it's like when you've done your 30 minutes, hour in that day, and you've gotten up your experience, but then that's it, your hands are dead, and you have to go to bed, so they heal, so then you actually gain for good that experience that you gained that day. It's then a part of you. It's become, your muscles soak it up in the rest. The thing is, at the end of your session, when you've been trying to do this thing and you've been putting in that temporal strength to try and really make sure you see a big gap from where you were yesterday, once it's dead, how can you possibly then see anything better than what you've seen so far in that practice session today? And not only that, it's if you can't do anything, you can't use your hands to even practice. So when you literally can barely even move them and stuff, and what I'm saying is mentally as well, it seems as if you can't really comprehend what's happening, because your hands they feel like they're really muddled, as if you've like tied your fingers together. And it's like, nah man, it's over. We have to admit defeat, take the guitar off and turn the amp off, right? And then you have to wait until tomorrow. But the whole thing about this is, a lot of people, like, especially like I say at the beginning of the video, but I've seen this a lot back in the day. I mean, people like can practice for a year and then be like, man, I don't even know if I've even got any better. And I'm like, looking at that now after everything I've explained, it's like I'm saying day by day by day, I've said everything that is going on as you are practicing your guitar every day, and what it will feel like and how it will seem to you, that this is what happens, right? So there's no way that you should be questioning whether you're getting better or not. You should literally see it every second continuously going up as you're playing. And as I'm saying, the only thing that will stifle it is just temporarily your hand will get tired whilst you're within the session, but that's just because you put a load of strength in for about 10 seconds. It's like, oof, I just killed my hand for a sec, give it a rest. Oh yeah, it's back to normal, keep going. And as you keep going practicing, it's like 5, 10, 15 minutes goes by, 20, 25, 30, up to an hour. You're still going up this skill, but eventually your hand can only sort of get tired, recover, until it's overloaded, right? Meaning that it's not going to come back and it's just dead for good that day, because you've used your... It's like if you were doing like heavy lifting all day and then you were asked to try and like do some good stuff with your muscles to try and like get stronger. It's like, dude, these are dead. They've already done the strength and the process, like the practice of development. That's how bodybuilding works. You just keep doing stuff with the muscles. They're tired. You rest it. You do it again. Rest it. Do it again. Rest it. And then by the time you've done that for an hour, they're dead for good. And then they need to sleep. And then they recover whilst you rest. And then you're stronger than you were the day before, and then you do it again, and it keeps going and going. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, whilst you're in the session, you might find that you're tired for the moment because you're putting in strength or whatever. Even if you don't, and like I say, you just do it at the skill you can, that's fine. You just won't see a temporal barrier where you have to rest for a sec and then you can come back, right? But like I say, I usually always force it. We're always trying to force it to try and really see us get better than where we were yesterday at the moment. Like, oh yeah, look how fast I'm going now, I've never seen that before, right? But that just happens for the moment. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the session, when it's dead for good, that's when it's time to put it down, and that's when you know you're done. And as you're going through it, you should see yourself pretty much getting better, but you'll only sort of be able to have this opportunity to gain experience, I'd literally say, for about half an hour. So it only lasts for about half an hour, you going up this slope, gaining this experience, and then by the end of it you will have sort of leveled up, but you won't really see it because your hands will be dead, so, or getting close to that, so you won't really notice. It's kind of between 50 and 75% between the session. So say you have like a half an hour practice that day, it's sort of like halfway through it, or like towards the 3/4 of it, that will be at the peak, because towards the end of it your hands are getting tired, so you kind of actually like then sort of, it's as if you're going back down, but it's still good. It's just because you're just getting to the end of the session, and then like I say, boom, next day after you've minute warm up, right, you back into it, and then from the 2 minutes to the 5 minutes you then start seeing where you left off after you got better the previous day, and then from there, like I say, it's the slope going up again. It's a new session, and at the end of that you've leveled up, and then the next day after the warm-up, you then see where you are from the previous day again, and it just keeps going. Right, so that's all that. There's no way I can say any more on that, because I'll just be saying the same thing again. So that's how it works. Now, the next thing, you can this is how I learn guitar, and I think this is how you should do it. Not like the only way you can do it, but it's just how practice works insanely well. Because there's tons of things you can do. I mean, you can literally like play simple things and that you already know, and still probably get something out of it. There's tons of things, tons of variations, like practicing the backing tracks, whatever, to practice your picking. Even though what does playing to a backing track have to do with your picking? You know what I mean? It will help it no matter what. As long as you're playing guitar, it'll probably do something, as long as you haven't maxed it out, as in like got to level 100, like God mode like level in that. You know, some people, because there is, again, that's another thing I can tell you, like, you will hit the ceiling with certain techniques, like strumming, because there is a point where you can do it and you can't do it any better, because there's no such thing above it. So that's a thing. But practice your hands independently. There's no such thing as like, if you just practice like the picking to develop your right hand, and say you sort of like practice like fretting with your fingertips to work on your fretting, there's no such thing of, oh yeah, but Chris, what if you do that and then you put them together and then they're not coordinated? That is not a thing. I have not seen that since I first picked up the guitar 11 years ago, and sort of seen that you had to use two hands for the thing, right? Because I did a video a while ago on learning to fingerpick, where I shown how I practice fingerpicking, where all I do is this over and over again whilst I listen to music or watch YouTube videos. Now my hand doesn't care whether I'm paying attention or not. This will build the strength, build the proficiency on using the right hand, right? It's practicing guitar, that's it, right? But one of my friends disliked the video because he said, surely it's better to practice both hands at the same time, so you actually practice both. Now, he wasn't saying that the coordination was a problem, but I'm pretty sure if I asked him about it, he'd be like, yeah, that's a thing as well. You probably wouldn't be able to play as fluidly because you're only practicing like the hands separately, but you obviously need both to play. But it's like, dude, nobody's ever spoken about, oh yeah, I've got this issue where my right hand plays faster than my left. It's like, what is that? I've never seen text or speech about that in my life, and I've never ever experienced it. But the thing is with that, the whole reason why I made that video was because if you're practicing using two hands, you're basically playing music, you're playing a song when you're playing musical material, something like that. But if you're playing a song over and over again, it can get quite boring. So what to do is, like, the thing is, if you play a song over and over again for an hour, that is shocking, that's boring, and you're not going to do that again tomorrow, or you're not going to do that more than 3 days in a row. It's much better to be able to listen to whatever music you want, to find new music, to watch any videos on YouTube, any films, whatever. You can, like, I'm left-handed, so I can colour in a colouring book and practice this at the same time. I used to colour in my colouring book, do that, and practice rapping at the same time. Like, give me the mic and a bit of your duck, it's what you better do when busting out flipping, I'm incredible, never get on my level, I'm a killer with a pedal for the metal, gettable in depth, so inevitable. That's what I used to do whilst listening to music as well, right? You can practice these things and they genuinely get better whether your mind is in it or not, or whether you're practicing your left hand with the right. That has nothing to do with it. But anyway, what I'm saying is, 1 hour of practice, good solid practice, non-stop, is amazing. And you can do that for weeks and months if you're doing something that you enjoy about. And I even wrote about this in my master's thesis, because like I say, it's great practice. But what I want you guys to know is that practicing the hands separately, so you can just forget about it. The practice is boring. You literally just have to do this every day for years to be able to do it, because it's just this thing that happens biologically that you have no control over how long it takes. And it just so happens that to be able to, like, for example, finger pick, like on my classical, with my fingers being able to pick it, like, as you know, as you go into the strings, they get like more tougher. To be able to do that with no strength whatsoever, with the strongest tone, because I'm going right into it, I'm like 2 years away from that, and I've been doing this for like 4 years. You can't speed that up. You just have to do that for 4 years every day, like you're the guitar's bitch. You just have to do it. So why are you giving a shit about practice, like taking that seriously, like actually having your head in it, when it's like, dude, it doesn't make a difference, and you're literally having your mind in the practice session, which is boring, when you have to do this every day for 4 years. You do something you like. So, but what the thing is, doing the hands separately, what I like is, I want to get the right hand so I can pick everything perfectly, no added strength, nothing, and then get the left hand so it's totally on the tips, not flat, on, like, you don't play guitar like it's on the tips, so you can literally, like, same with the chord changes, so you can literally, like, you're perfect with the changes. But the thing is, it's like you do the right hand, you do the left hand, well, it doesn't matter which. You can become a master of the left hand first if you want. And also, practicing the left hand on its own can be quite boring, so I like to play like melodies for that, like, because doing it without any sound, it's a bit sucky. And the thing is, you have to keep looking at it to check if you listen to music and stuff. It just sucks a bit. But anyway, so all I've said is about playing hands separately, but playing them together, it's like, okay, once you've mastered both, try master playing them together. But what I'm talking about is not coordination and all that bollocks, because that doesn't exist. What I'm talking about is play the guitar without looking at it. So once you've mastered being able to play it, like you've mastered the two components that you need, this one and this one, then you can then play something and play something like, just play something, but do it without looking. And once you can play guitar, you've already mastered the guitar, you've mastered the pieces. Once you've mastered the right hand and the left, you've mastered guitar. But this is how I see playing guitar with the both hands. It's doing it without taking your head up, looking dead straight ahead towards the audience, to the back wall of the building that you're playing at, whatever, right? And not having to look at a thing. And then you've mastered everything. You've mastered the right, you've mastered the left, and you've mastered them both. And you're fucking rocking it, right? So that's playing with both hands, right? Now, this next point is literally like defying the laws of physics. I cannot believe you can do this. It is ridiculous, and I use it all the time, right? Sometimes, sometimes like you're learning a riff or something that you can't quite do, but it's really like awkward or annoying. Like for example, now that thing there, I was learning that maybe about a few weeks ago, and I wasn't that good at it. And what was bothering me is the fact that you sort of go a downstroke on the B and the high E, and then you've got to go back up like a sort of boomerang and do like an upstroke on the G, and then back down on the B string, and then continually in between the B and the G do like this sort of like, as if you're like in between them both, picking them like with it in between, like. And it was so like just difficult. It sucked. Like I could do it to practice it, but it just didn't feel good. Hopefully there's some things that you've learnt before where you feel like just with the specific strokes that you need to do, with just coincidence by the order of the strings that you have to, like I say, I didn't choose how to pick it. It's like, oh, to play it I need to do down picks here, and then I need to go back up to do the upstroke on there, and then down on the B, up to the G, down B, G, all this. Now that I really like how that's going there, but 3 weeks ago, and even before that, I was still trying to do it. It sucked. But the thing is, with guitar, you can learn anything. So I could just learn this instead. You know, so I could go, oh, sod that, and then just start playing some groove metal on one string. Now if you practice that for your session, for your practice session, and then do that the next day or whatever, or whatever you want, mate. So like alternate like 3-string like power chords, you know, the 3 note, like the octave and the one in the middle. You just practice guitar for 2 weeks, whatever. It could be just 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. But what will happen is, when you come back to that thing, you'll be better at it. You'll be better at that when you didn't even do it. I have never in my life seen anything where you achieve something by not doing it. That's magic. And you get 3+1s because you think, oh, I can't bother to learn that, that's really annoying me. So you go away and learn something else instead. So you're doing something you prefer. That's one positive. The next thing is, you get better than the thing that you're now practicing, the new thing. So say the groove metal picking, so like with that I'd get stronger with my wrist, stronger at picking this, like this melody, whatever. And then the third thing is that you get better at this thing that you went away from as well. So like you'll come back to that, you'll forget about it. 3 weeks, you'll come back and you'll be like, man, I'm so much better at that. And then the main positive about it overall is that when you then get to this new sort of ledge, like this higher ledge on this thing that you were trying to learn, it becomes much more friendlier. Like I was saying that I really liked how that was working for me just then. So now it feels like something I can just do all the time and I really like it. And then when it's something that you've latched onto and it's really nice, it's not an issue to practice. And then from there you're still getting better even more at it because you're playing it now. And obviously it works the same way with everything else. Like if you practice stuff like that will help your strums, that'll help your strength for picking the one string. Because the thing is, bottom line, I'm going to let you in on a little hint. Everything's all picking and it all comes from the strength of your wrist. So even though, say if you want to get better at chord strumming across 3 strings, you might think, okay, well if I just do groove metal on 1 string, it's not going to help my strumming, but it does. That's what I mean. You could be like going, oh, it's bothering me that I don't have like these really clean strums. I mean, I do now, but it used to be quite choppy. I mean, I still haven't mastered it where I'm literally like right in it. And that could annoy me and I could just be like, nah, I'm just gonna just jam about. And say you felt like doing that coincidentally for 3 days, come back 3 days later, as soon as you first then see a strum of this again, it'll be better than it was before, and you didn't even touch it, you didn't practice that. That is ridiculous. I cannot believe it. Right, so next thing, right, yeah, this is the last thing. So, how do you know when you can actually properly do something? Now, the thing is, you know that you've actually mastered something when every movement of it, so every pick of it, you can see it in your head, right? The example I would like to use to show when you're not at that stage is like me with these gallops. Now, as well, when I because the thing is I had to relearn using my wrist, but I used to use my forearm for like tremolo picking or whatever it used to be. I don't even want to go back there. But I remember like back in the day, like thinking back, like when I think back to it now, I remember that if I wanted to do the gallops, like say somebody said, oh Chris, do some gallops on that string, I'd be able to do it because I could do it, but it was as if like, it's like, okay, you want me to do this, so I need to do this. So for me to do this, I need to do what's in my head that needs to happen in my head to trigger this. So it's like, oh yeah, you can do it, but you don't know how you're doing it or like what it feels like. You just think, okay, I'm gonna do it, and you sort of trigger it like it's like like firing a submachine gun. Like it's like you don't understand how it's happening. It's just, oh yeah, I can make those triggers happen. I can show you that I can. Here it is. But my point with that is, it's like there's a difference between like knowing what's going on and just being able to do it, but in your head at the time of you doing it, your head's just completely empty. Because for you to master something, you need, like I said, you need to be able to see every pick in your mind. So the problem with this is, like when you haven't mastered it, like these gallops, I haven't mastered them yet. When I have, I know what it will look like. This is why I know this point that I'm telling you. The way to look at it is, like for example with the gallops, imagine this, my arm is a string, right? I need to be able to do this thing with my right hand. I mean, I'm using my left here, but that's why I'm using my right hand for this. But with my right hand, I would need to, in my head, know that, I mean, to do this like proper quick, like I would need to be able to feel that and have control over that and actually be able to do it. And what is it that we're actually doing? What we're doing is you go downwards motion past this thing that is what is, I can't remember what that, it's not horizontal, but yeah, it's I can't believe I can't remember what that is. It might be horizontal, I don't know. But anyway, you're going past this thing that's angled like, it's not like this, it's not like that, it's like that, you know, like these strings are going across. You got to pick something down like this, and then it's going to go up and then down, and that is a gallop. That is what we're actually doing. And this explanation, how many of you guys have even actually thought about this before, like in this way, like the description of what we're actually doing here? Because your mind needs to know that for you to actually do this. Because how is it gonna, it's like you can't speak a language that you don't know. So if you're trying to do something on here that your mind hasn't even thought about, how is it even doing it? But that's the thing, you can, if you do it with your body, it's not, oh yeah, you can make it happen. But it's really hard to explain. Like, once you've actually then gotten from this point where you are now to being a master of it in 10 years, in 10 years what will happen is you'll have complete control, because your mind will be able to see what your hand's actually doing, right? But going back to this thing, it's like down, up, down. So okay, I can tell in my head that I cannot competently do what that wants me to do. I know that with this hand, I haven't biologically manufactured this ability where I can go down, up, down on this horizontal plane. I'm just going to say this is horizontal, I don't even know. On this horizontal plane that has to go up, down, up, down, up, down at the speed of right? I know, my brain knows that this hand cannot do that. And I know that once I can comprehend that and my hand can mirror, once these things are sort of matched, that you'll have the ability. So that's what it will feel like. It's like I know that that's what it will be once I've mastered it, that it's going to be me being able to go up and down this line at this angle at the speed of right? So it's kind of like actually know what it is you're trying to do and soak it up in your mind, and you'll then be able to see that, oh yeah, compared to what I'm doing now, what it should be is not what is happening right now. We need to get to that point. And then how are we getting to that point? Oh well, I can kind of see what I'm doing and I can kind of imagine it, but then it's like I know that going up and down 3 times as fast as this, I know that's really hard to do at this moment, but it will get better as I keep going. Okay, so we'll keep going, and then that goes in hand with what I said at the start of the lesson, with how does the progression work, going up the slope each day, blah blah blah. So that's it. It's that last thing is really hard to explain, but it's just something I wanted to try and say to you, so you can kind of know when you know what mastering something will be like, because it will be what it is you're trying to do, with a complete comprehension of it, both in your mind and using your mind to know what it will be in your hands, and that, doing that, like sort of what it is, whatever it is you're trying to master, using no strength to compensate for a lack of ability or speed, whatever it is you're trying to do, that will be when you've mastered something. Now, that is it. It's a whole load of me gabbing on about stuff that I know from what I've done. See, my qualifications, like I've got a master's and I'm qualified to teach the nation's children. That has nothing to do with why I know that I have everything I need and I know what's going on to master guitar. It's from my experience, and I just wanted to tell you about my experience and the stuff that I know for a fact that's at least happening with me. And I'm a human being that's trying to learn guitar. You're a human being that's trying to learn guitar, and we do it in the same way. So this is how it worked for me. It will be the same for you. So that's how it works. If you have any questions, let me know. Cheers for watching, guys. Take care and God bless.